Are you good? Are you muted? Oh, there we go. Hello.
No, my headset wasn't connected, so I was like, oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see.
I don't know why I had to hold my breath while I was doing that, but
Neither do
I
man.
did. I look like I narrate like horror podcasts. There was a man. He lived in a shed. His name was the Gango, and he killed people using a spade.
The Gango. Sounds like some outback fucking murderer. The Gango. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Forgotten Podcast. I'm your host, Catman Joe, and we're joined here once again by none other than the Cynic himself, Mr. Mass Cynic.
Who?
Who indeed. Today we are joined by a very interesting content creator, entertainer, and educator who has done almost everything from Minecraft Let's Plays to useful educational tutorials. He's a useful...
Love him.
I need to take...
Wow.
I'm a tool.
He's a used tool. Yeah, we're
Thanks.
using you.
I didn't... No, you say concept.
Welcome, guys, to our Forgotten Podcast. The guy we got on is an absolute
He's a tool.
Don't even like him.
you
Just,
say-
oh, come on, mate. We love you.
Exactly. That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
That's right. I was because the next says I take a breath and it's a lot, but yeah, I write too much. But yeah,
I don't know
Joe,
what I get.
Joe,
I start manually breathing when we
You
start
start-
doing podcasts. It stresses me out. Yeah.
are you going to be able to cut this in, Joe, or do you want me to redo the entire
No.
thing?
I'm just deleting the whole video.
He's an Australian YouTuber with just now over 9,600 subscribers and 2.6 million combined channel views, who is best known for his Cameron voice, humble personality, and iconic Minecraft skin that is based on the character Emil from Halo Reach. To say we are eager to be joined by the Aussie himself would be an understatement. Please give a very warm welcome to our good friend, Leiger or LeigerGaming.
Wow, that was very kind words. Thanks for the warm welcome.
He's a tool.
Hello.
He's a don't say that. we got through the introduction. Leiger, it's a pleasure to have you on, man. We've all been speaking obviously for a few minutes behind the scenes for anybody watching, of course, kind of getting ourselves ready. I want to just acknowledge the elephant in the room. This episode has taken us 5 months to record. The initial date on the script was the 13th of October, and it's the 9th currently of March. So it's been literally almost 5 months to record, which is unbelievable. But we're here, it's getting done, we're doing it, and Leiger, it is a pleasure, may I just say, honestly. But how are you doing today, my man?
Good, good. Can I just make a comment about the date?
Sure.
You have timed things perfectly because today just happens to be exactly 12 years to the day from when I created the channel.
Wow, you're saying wow.
And you didn't know that.
No,
Wow.
I actually planned that.
You know what's weird? I actually
Yeah.
had your channel date written down here. I think it's in one of our questions, eerily enough, or it might be from one of the ones that I did modify or remove. It is there. I'm going to find it. It was there, but I did acknowledge it, but I didn't see the date actually as today because I think I miswritten it or something like that. But we'll get into that. But no, Leiger, again, it is an absolute pleasure to have you here. Honestly, it's been a hard thing to kind of arrange for us all because obviously for those of you that don't know, myself and Joe, obviously we're in the United Kingdom and Leiger is in Australia, and the time difference, I believe, is 11 and a half hours, I believe, isn't it? Just to clarify.
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Something
Well, maybe
like
more
that,
like 10 and a half, but yeah, about that. Yeah.
It's a significant time difference, and easily this has been one of our most difficult episodes to kind of really arrange just because of that. But we're really glad to be able to make it happen, of course. And Leiger, you're going to be a fantastic guest, I'm sure. But like, how are you feeling today in general, man? How are you doing? I hope you're doing well.
Yeah. Good. Good.
Good. We're all ready to rock and roll with this.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
it's been pretty hot because it's summer right now. Where it's winter for you, probably. It's been pretty hot the last few weeks, but it's been perfect temperature today. So yeah, I'm good.
Gosh darn, man, what's the temperature where you're at right now? Not to be too specific.
46.
It was like 23 or 23 degrees Celsius today, where it's been like 30, high 30s, sometimes 40 degrees last week.
Oh man,
But if it
that'd
goes
be
2
melting
degrees
weather.
above or below 8 degrees here, we all cry. So
We all the British, the
snowing
British
here.
cannot take we cannot take heat. You know what I mean?
8 degrees
We're
is
used to the heat.
too cold for me.
Honestly, for
We
me,
don't
it's
like
been
8
in the
degrees.
minuses.
Oh,
Last night
it's
it was like minus
2
5
at the moment. It's
where
been
I'm at.
snowing.
It's been we've had snow, which is crazy to even fathom.
Well, that's the thing.
Um,
I've never actually seen snow in my life.
What? Never.
I've never seen snow in my life ever.
All right, so if you look up a picture of snow,
Look up a
It's
photo.
like
of snow. We're
white,
gonna pull up a photo.
foamy
I've
stuff.
let me clarify. I've seen it in movies, but I've never seen it in real life.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's what I
it's not
mean.
real, Don't worry about it.
That
It's
is- that
purely
is a
Hollywood
shame.
fiction.
That is a shame, man.
Yeah.
That is absolutely a shame. Missed out on
One
so
day,
much
one
life.
day.
One day it will snow in Australia. That's what it is.
What if you never see snow?
That is a good question. Why is this a question at the beginning of the episode?
It'll be a
We
waste
should
of
have added
life.
that.
That's it. Well, I think we'll get started. I feel like a great place for us to start with this would be to talk about some of the upcoming and super underrated creators like yourself that over the years you've had the amazing opportunity to work with, such as Oddman MC, Mr. Vloop, who we were actually just talking about, funnily enough, excuse me, just before we actually started recording, Jumble Wolf, Madzify, and Plastic Scott or Plastic Scoot. I'm not too sure I meant to pronounce his name. To name
Plastic
just a
Scott.
few.
Yep.
Plastic Scott, thank you. I'm sure you would agree, though. I'm sure you'd agree, though, that working with these creators was mainly possible due to the Scoutcraft SMP, which, for those of our audience that don't know, is an SMP that started back in July 2020 and was initially branded as a Hermitcraft, but for smaller YouTubers, with even using the same seed as the one used in Hermitcraft Season 7. The first season of the SMP, excuse me, sadly came to an end though back in late 2021, but thankfully a Season 2 was announced and started just not long after, with colleagues of leaguers like Oddman MC releasing his first episode of the second season just 19 days after Season 1 ended. However, Leiger, saying all that, you only acknowledged the start of the season of Scoutcraft in February 2022 with your incredibly well edited and produced video called Minecraft But We're Trapped in the Nether for 3 months, excuse me, which led many to believe new episodes from your perspective were going to be coming to your channel soon, but nothing has yet been seen on YouTube. Why is that?
That was the plan.
That was the plan. I'm intrigued to hear this.
See, this is the thing. I went through a bit of a I don't know if crisis is the right word. Trying to figure out how I wanted to make content, right? And Let's Plays on their own weren't performing that well, and I wanted to try to figure out how I could make Let's Play kind of content in a different way. And so over the 3 months, I initially planned to release a video the first week, but it took me 3 months to figure out how I wanted to do the video. And then we escaped the Nether, and I thought, I'll just make one video about that whole thing.
To catch everybody up.
It was just a matter of, I wanted to improve on Season 1, but I wasn't sure how. And I was kind of stuck creatively trying to figure out how to proceed. So it's more just a matter of I didn't know what to do next. And then since then, it's been a bit of that as well, and then a bit of moving on to other projects that has led to not really creating a video since. I created a video, which is a memorial for System 64. That was one of the scouts. Other than that, I've not created another video.
I did see the memorial. I don't know if Joseph got a minute to see it, but obviously he was, I believe, a friend of yours from the SMP who was only 17 years old, from my understanding.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, 17 years old. And,
so he was struggling with a few things and ended up he's not with us anymore. So it was more just a video, sort of acknowledging that and suggesting that if people are struggling with things, that they should reach out for some help. So yeah.
Yeah, I think because I did see that you had put that in the playlist for Season 2 of Scoutcraft, and I noticed obviously that alongside the We're Trapped in the Nether for 3 months. Obviously that was a really unfortunate video for you to have to make. Of course, it was a beautifully well made video. Obviously, of course, same with the poem with it. It was very well made. For anybody who hasn't seen it, I'd highly recommend it. It was a very well made video, and a true shame, obviously, of course, because he's a member of obviously your community, but obviously a member of Scoutcraft. I'm sure it won't be forgotten by any means, of course, in that regard. It was a beautiful, I guess, tribute for you to pay by making that video. But aside from that video and like the one that we previously just mentioned, the 3 months Trapped in the Nether, there really hasn't been much from you on Scoutcraft. Have you still been in recordings with others, like other members of Scoutcraft, or have you just been out of that as well?
There's been some stuff going on, but there's a bit of we haven't announced anything formally to the community. We've got some plans for the future, but we haven't announced anything formally to the community. It's kind of been on hiatus unofficially recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
looking into
I've moved on to other projects.
Yeah, no worries. When I was looking for it, I do remember seeing bits. I didn't see the video itself, but I remember Joe also telling me about like just obviously the scenario, just so it's like not spoken about incorrectly and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it must be such a hard. I think Joe, I don't think it was real, but didn't someone, was it Nintendo, in your community?
Well, that was
faked it.
Yeah, it was. We had a similar experience to losing a member of our community, obviously, and that's a horrible experience. I
can't imagine what that's
when
like.
You meet, yeah, I think with in this regard, it's slightly different, obviously, but it's similar in the sense what Joe's referring to kind of give you some context. Legal, I had a friend of mine, a member of my community, who watched my streams called Nintendo Gaming. And he was a big member of the community and such. I'm sure quite similar to System was, of course, in yours, and obviously, of course, within the Scoutcraft SMP, he was even more involved in that regard. Of course, he was a friend, more than just a viewer or a fan. But for me, it was more just a fan, the person that happened on my end. The individual had passed away from cancer from what we initially found out. And then obviously later on it got found out that was all fake. And it was a long, very horrible story, but it was very sad. But it's horrible losing friends online and stuff, because I think a lot of people get the misconception, or get misconstrued that just because you know them online, you didn't know them in real life, you don't know them as well, so you don't care. And it's completely not the case. You know, you could definitely tell from the video that you made, the tribute video, if you call it that, to System 64. It was beautifully well made. You could tell you lost a friend. You know, you were paying respect and paying homage to a fellow player, a fellow gamer, but also as well a friend. I think it was a really beautiful video, of course, for you to make. I'm really glad you did make it, obviously, because otherwise I would never have known who the person was, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm glad you think it's a good video.
No,
yeah, I'm happy with the result for sure.
it was a great video. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess that's what we know about Scoutcraft, of course, so far. I am quite excited to see where Scoutcraft goes. You know, some of the other members of Scoutcraft, I've already kind of talked about Joe and stuff with it. Maybe at one point, maybe trying to get some of them on the podcast and stuff like that, because it'd be good to kind of try and widen that kind of reach of people that know people. But I wish you the best with, obviously, of course, in regards to Scoutcraft, because that was kind of my first kind of intro question, because obviously, again, that was something that seemed like it was quite important to you. The whole series, of course, the whole SMP, the group of creators that you work with, are very cool people, you know, and it was really important to know what had been happening with that kind of entire group in general since season 1 had ended, which I must say as well, the final for season 1, I watched that and it was a great final. It was a really, really, really good final. The whole
We had a lot of fun with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, the season 1 was fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, how, if you could sum up season 2 so far, could you? What would you say about it?
It hasn't continued as planned, and that's more to do with real life things getting in the way for a lot of people on the server. So yeah, we're discussing some things internally, but haven't announced anything publicly yet.
Okay, well, be interesting.
So not much. To be honest, there's not much to say
not much
about season 2.
Much to report, but
season 1 was amazing, and yeah, I occasionally watch some of my season 1 episodes again, and I'm blown away at, like, I'd forgotten how much fun I had, and watching the videos again brings that back. So even just looking back on the season 1 videos, I personally enjoy them. But yeah,
I can
season 2 is a different story. That's it. Yeah. There's things we haven't announced yet, so it's more just a matter of I can't say much.
Yeah, no, I respectfully understand that. I'll leave you with that then. Fine, that's a good answer to my question. I'll let Joe carry on from there.
Yeah, no, we are so flawless in these segues, Joe. But no, when Joe initially introduced me to your channel and discussed how great you would be as a potential guest on our show, I was really excited to have you join us and get to meet you personally, because, you know, we've not actually met properly before. And we have quite a few things in common, including the fact we're all podcast hosts. And for those of our listeners who don't know much about Leiger, outside of him being an individual content creator, he also has his own podcast called The Follower Forge, previously known as the Minecraft Creator Podcast, which has over 150 subscribers. It includes interesting content creator advice, like how to avoid burnout, which, as we all know on this podcast, is very important.
Yeah,
we've been gone for 110 days. Ways to collaborate with other creators, how to increase your watch time. I wanted to ask you, though, what had happened to the podcast throughout the last year, as you've taken a 9-month-long hiatus. We can't judge him for that, just saying.
No, yeah, by no means.
From releasing new episodes on the channel. When you returned at the start of the year and rebranded the show, I also additionally wanted to ask you what had happened to apparently 50 interviews you had mentioned, that were recorded but just haven't been released yet. I remember Joe actually telling me about this, and I think we had a little conversation about this a while ago, actually, me and Joe, about you having all this content pent up.
Yeah, I do still have those recorded, just not edited into episodes yet. The whole point of this was that I want to do a whole bunch of bite-sized episodes, like you're saying. So, I mean, when you hear podcast, you assume like a 20, 30-minute episode minimum, sometimes even longer. But it's a podcast in that it's on podcast apps, but it's only like 2-3 minutes. Like longest is maybe 5 or 6 minutes, I think. It's very, very small. Yeah. So it is on YouTube because it's aimed at YouTube creators as well. But it is first and foremost an audio podcast initially. And I named it the Minecraft Creator Podcast because I was targeting Minecraft creators. But for a variety of reasons, one of those being the Minecraft UDA means you can't use the Minecraft name as the primary thing in a name of a product. They have a problem with that. So I had to take Minecraft out of the name, but also I wanted to widen the scope to be all content creators maybe all gaming content creators, but not just Minecraft. So because the tips aren't just for Minecraft creators, they're sort of more generic than that. So I've rebranded it to be Follower Forge.
Yeah, Minecraft as a title is
and
quite
I've
restricted
also
to what you can speak about. Sorry, there's a delay. So
yeah, you definitely can't use Minecraft as the first and the main word. And so the way I was using it would be against their terms, their brand guidelines. But I've also, as part of the rebrand, switched to doing additional videos as well. So it's also more of a YouTube channel now, and that I'm doing stuff directly on YouTube that is not in the podcast feed. But I will also be doing audio-only episodes that are back in the podcast feed in the future as well. So in terms of the gap, it's more just a matter of I decided not to burn myself out I decided to take my own advice, basically. And instead of burning myself out trying to stick to like the fortnightly schedule I'd set for myself and that kind of thing, I removed that from the banner and basically just thought to myself, I'm going to record stuff when it's ready. I'm not going to push myself to have a certain date. I had a whole bunch of other IRL stuff in the way, competing for my time. So I just decided that I was going to not push myself to the point of burnout and just take things as they came. And so the break was more just a matter of I just didn't have the time to do stuff. Whereas now I'm trying to ramp up slowly back into doing it again, but I'm not committing to a schedule at this stage because I don't think I'm able to commit to that schedule yet. It's more just a matter of when I have time to do things, I'm doing them. And there's a sort of every couple of weeks something might come out, but it's not a set schedule at this stage.
Yeah.
And I'm more comfortable doing that.
Refreshing. Oh, no, I can imagine, definitely. I think it's a much more comfortable feeling when you don't feel as forced to try and put content out on a weekly schedule or a specific schedule.
I think that's when you start putting out stuff you don't want to put out as well. Like you start doing stuff you're not happy with, and then I think that furthers your burnout, doesn't it? So.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
That's it. I mean, we had the same kind of experience with our show. You know, we were recording seasons of the show, which a season for us is every 10 episodes. And obviously, although we are podcasters and Follower Forge and the Forgotten Podcast have that in common, what we both do individual on both podcasts are, I'd say, entirely different. You know, I like what Joseph said in his question, of course. Your podcast focuses more on education, but also as well on bite-sized content. It's quite unique in that regard. A lot of podcasts, like you very well said, are 20 to 30 minutes. Ours can be an hour to 2, 3. We've had 3.5 hour long episodes. It really just depends on who we're interviewing, but ours are more interview based and less educational based, to allow creators to get to. It's almost like a biographic, you know. It's for your audience get to know you better and our audience get to know you better. That's what we do, but you do yours in a very different light, and that's why it's quite refreshing, but also quite surprising as well to see when you came back after that, you know, 8.5 or 9 month long hiatus, and you rebranded. You know, Minecraft Creator Podcast became Follower Forge, which I do think is definitely a better name for 100% because it is a lot more open to obviously what you can create and what you're doing. You're not just about Minecraft, like you said, and it's not just targeting Minecraft creators. It's targeting a much wider scope of people or creators than that, which is why I definitely think the rebrand is very smart, of course, in that regard. But I'll let you. Sorry,
just as a random fact to add into that, the name Follower Forge came from ChatGPT. I gave it the concept and asked it to come up with a list of suggested names, and the second name it came up with was Follower Forge. I'm like, check, yep, it's got a Twitter handle, it's got a YouTube handle, everything's free, everything's available, I'm taking it.
I was going to say that's kind of one of the big things when you get a name like that. You know, the first main thing is does it have its social medias available? Can you get the name? Can you get the at handle, etc.? And it's great.
I was really surprised my new username is available and everything. Yeah. Like I remember my initial one was actually never available anywhere, so I had to resort to adding numbers to it, etc. But the current one I've got now is free everywhere. It's such a relieving feeling to almost like feel original, if you know what I mean, because it is so hard now, isn't it? You've got so many like numbers, names, and characters that you have to add now.
It's also for brand identity as well, like with Follower Forge and with it being a podcast. I think it's really important, especially for you for that, because it's not just about a specific creator. You're not just making your own channel like LeigerGaming. It's a podcast for others, and it's good that you actually have those actual social medias all locked down as your own. Which is quite important, of course. But I do think what you're doing right now is very interesting with the show. I was quite interested, of course, about the whole you've got 15 guests, interviews that you've never released that you still need to get edited, which is really fascinating to me. Because with that in mind, I was like, dude, I want to see that, because obviously we have all these bite-sized episodes, which are fantastic.
I've got to go back and I've got to go back and grab them. They're on a hard drive. I've just got to go back and get them and edit them. Yeah.
Oh God! So would
they're sitting there still?
If we're speaking in hypotheticals here, obviously, because obviously I don't know your plans with this. I don't want to kind of make you have to spoil them. But when those episodes do come out, would it be uploaded to the channel and to its socials or whatnot? and it's in their full entirety or slightly edited, but would they be long episodes?
No.
Or
So
what is the length?
This is the thing. So my goal for this so far, that there might be full interviews at some point, but my goal for this so far was I did like a half hour, an hour interview with some of these people, and I did it in such a way that there was a lot of self-contained questions about specific topics, and I did it such that I can make a video that's like a 5-minute video, audio only, about a certain topic, a teaching point, trying to like YouTube education, right? And have their quotes pop in as it's relevant, as I've done in some of the episodes, if you've listened to them. So that it's just like this is the point this person says about it, and this is what this person says about it, this is what this person says about it. And it's just pulling snippets. So each interview could end up, the same person with a single interview could end up being their voice in 6 different episodes, because they're talking about 6 different things. And so that was the plan there. Yeah.
No, it makes quite a lot of sense in that regard. I do understand that. I get that mindset as well, making it more bite-sized content. But I would love to, in some way, at some point in the foreseeable future. I guess you're always going to have the
It would be nice to do both, like doing the bite-sized stuff, and then like maybe like seeing how well they do, and then after that doing like here's the raw release, or slightly edited and polished up. But in the majority, it is just the whole interview. I think there's a if you're doing so much for bite-sized content, there's definitely going to be a few people in your community that are going to like that longer form. The long form. And it'll be good that it's there so that people can obviously have it if they want it, and it obviously helps you as well. Yeah, for sure. There is a creator that I lined up over a year ago now. Talk about setting up interviews and then not doing them. A big creator that I'm not able to say the name for, that I am going to have an interview with at some point. But that will probably be just released as it is, just because their name alone would be enough to bring in views. I don't need to target it any other way. But that at this point, I'm not even sure when that's going to happen, if it's going to happen. So, but that one will probably end up being a single dedicated episode of some kind, a half an hour or something. So it'll happen eventually. Yeah.
No, I think that's understandable. I think it will be very interesting to see where Follower Forge goes. At the minute, it's growing at quite a good pace, and it's it's not the biggest podcast in the world. Neither are we, of course, by any means. But it is one of those things that the content that you're creating is really useful, not just to people that listen to podcasts. It's useful to creators, and I think that's what's good. Going for your podcast, it was quite easy for me because, again, like we've already said, it is all very bite-sized content. It's easy to digest, quick content. It's well edited, well made, and it's well presented in a way that you can easily digest it, acknowledge it, and then move on to the next piece if you do want to, which is why I think your podcast is just going to continue to grow and do very well for itself, obviously, over the foreseeable future. And I'm quite excited to see where it goes in 2023 in that regard, of course. So yeah.
So it is my second priority behind LeigerGaming being the first. So LeigerGaming will generally get more of my effort, but it's more just a matter of when I have something to say, when I have something I think I can point out there, that or someone asks me a creator-focused question that I can then answer on it in a video form or audio form. That's kind of where I'll put it. So I like that I've got that avenue, because I was doing some of that stuff on LeigerGaming, but not all of my viewers on LeigerGaming are creators. So I needed to, because I knew I was going to be doing more of that, I separated that into a separate channel at that point. But initially I did do a few of those on LeigerGaming.
I did see that. I think you've got 2 videos that I could publicly see that were very, very, very similar to that format. And one of them had, I think, 35,000 views. It propelled and done incredibly well. And it was like, this should be on Follower Forge. But obviously, this was the predecessor, so to speak, to Follower Forge. This was the stuff you were doing beforehand. And then Follower Forge came, and that's where you're injecting that kind of content into now, which is, I understand.
So I was testing the idea. And once the idea was kind of validated that, I enjoy making this content and people want to see this kind of content, that's where I spun it off into a different channel.
No, that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. And it's a great channel. It's a great podcast, a very unique podcast in that regard as well, in regards to how you produce the episodes and how you release them as well in the bite-sized content way.
I think there's an ongoing joke about everyone nowadays making a podcast, everyone doing it. And I think why I like the Follower Forge so much is that it strives to be a bit more innovative than other ones, because everyone is doing podcasts. I think, me and Joe, we've got the interview thing, we've got that thing sort of down. A lot of people do it as well, but I think we bring our own twist to it, which is nice, with some bits you'll see later in the show. But I think stuff like having the shorter bite-sized content is something I've never really heard of before. Like I listen to a good array of podcasts, and sometimes they do a weekend release. There's a there is a podcast I listen to called Help I Sexted My Boss, and they do a weekend release, which is 20 to 50 minutes long as opposed to their usual hour-long ones. And honestly, the shorter, more digestible content is actually quite nice to listen to. And I think when you have enough as well, it's really easy to binge listen to. And I think that sort of thing is really important when it comes to making, you know, an audio-based bit of content.
Yeah, it definitely helps having lots of them. And so the more the catalog builds up, the better, and more bingeable it is for sure. Absolutely.
I think that gives you motivation to make more, though, which I think is really good.
Yes, that too.
Definitely. Well, that was a really good answer to that. I really enjoyed that little segment. We'll move on to the next one. While doing research for you, I discovered your old Minecraft Java server called MC Leiger, which sadly, by the time I discovered it, had been long shut down. However, naturally, I was still intrigued to see if there was any content of you playing on it still online, and I was surprised to find out the true age and history of the server. And please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here with any of this, but I'd love to give you what I could find. From my understanding, the server initially spawned into existence, pardon the expression, in the early 2010s, with there being videos that I could find dating all the way back to 2012 from players playing on it. It then at some point shut down and then was relaunched in January 2017 with your own funds initially, but then went back to then went on to become a donation-run server by February of the same year, and went on to remain active and stay open until March 26, 2018, just over 14 months after the relaunch. Sadly, then it shut down again for what was presumably the final time, and from what we know, that was the last time it was ever seen, and nothing else has been spoken about it online, of course, from you, of course, in that regard. So my question was, do you have any intentions of bringing it back one day in the future, and what was your favorite aspect about the server?
In my view, it is already back. So I have a supporter server that my supporters get access to on Twitch and Patreon. It's not called MC Leiger, it's called Leiger SMP. It's renamed slightly, but to me, that is the same thing. And it's just a matter of, so the history, you said 2010, it was actually started on, I purchased it on the 8th of August 2011.
Well, I said,
and other players hopped on and played before I did.
Right.
Yeah. So other players started playing before I even hopped on myself.
How does that work? How did that
and the reason, so the host that I was using, the IP address that I was assigned was the same IP address for a very popular mini game server, kind of like a Hypixel style thing, but lower, less popular. And so a whole bunch of Dutch users logged on to play the mini games, and they spawned into this world, which was just pure vanilla, no mods, no one had ever even logged on. That I just launched the server, just paid for it. And then I log on the next day, and there's players on there already. I'm like, where did you come from? Because I hadn't advertised it to anyone.
It was a totally
apparently because it had shared the same IP. This other server disappeared, and the host had repurposed IP for mine. I had players immediately, and so the core players of my community when I was running that server were these Dutch people and a few of their friends for a couple of years that it was running. They were the main players, and they kept the players. These first ones that were on, they logged on before me, the server owner.
Do you have like a very big Dutch ratio in your audience now when you check your analytics?
Not anymore. Now it's more.
Not anymore.
Now it's more London and the US. But back then, when it was mainly the Minecraft server and an IRC server, which we ended up connecting to the Minecraft chat, that back when people used to use IRC, that was mainly Dutch back then.
Oh, sorry, do forgive me. I don't know what that is. What is IRC?
IRC is Internet Relay Chat. It's basically like a version of Discord chat where you only have one channel, and when you log off and log back on, you miss all the messages that happened when you weren't there.
Oh.
So you only see the messages when you were there, when you're actually online, and it's a single channel. So think of that. That's probably the best analogy I can give. So a single Discord channel where you don't see what happened when you were offline. You could pay for what's called a... you could pay for services that would keep you connected and give you a history or a log of what you missed. But then sort of Discord has come along later and has done the same sort of thing built in.
Yeah.
Why have you not transitioned to Discord then? Sorry to cut you in, Joe.
I have.
What he has, he has.
Oh, he has. Okay, I was about to say.
This was in the early 2010s. Yeah,
I was about to say, like, why are you still using this?
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's what he's saying. It was in the early 2010s because that's what I mentioned. I didn't know the exact date from when the server was made. I knew it was in the early 2010s, so it could have been 2011, 12, 13.
This is so it was the next year, 2011. Yeah. Oh yeah, you mean the decade? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was 2010s. Yeah, that's what I said in the question. Yeah.
Yeah, so initially the server was run using my own funds, but I was back in sort of uni then. I was a student. I ended up struggling to pay for it. So I asked for donations. That kept it going for a little while. And then it shut down because of lack of donations, because I ended up paying for quite a few months and ended up, I couldn't afford it. And then I relaunched it, as you said, but I relaunched it with a provision that it would only stay up for as long as there were donations. I would not pay for it myself. It would be donations only. And that lasted for over a year of constant donations. And then they kind of dried up. Players got bored. Yeah, so we shut it down again. That's fair enough. And then after I sort of relaunched my channel and started focusing, like it's been up for 12 years, but I've really started uploading again October 2019, sort of February 2020, just before COVID. And shortly after that, I relaunched the server as a supporter-only server. Actually, it might have been almost a year after that, but yeah, I relaunched it. So it's currently running as a supporter-only server. So it's been financially viable for a couple of years now, and hopefully into the future.
It's interesting to see. I didn't know that one right now. Question, of course, but it's quite good to know that the actual server, obviously, to some extent, it lived on, but it was obviously not MC Leiger anymore. Of course, it was the Leiger SMP, but it lived on in that regard. It's like obviously, it's for your people that are supporting you more financially. Of course, they can come join it and play on it. Do you have like an active amount of people that are on that quite a lot and play on it? And do you ever record videos on the server?
I have done the occasional video. I mainly live stream from it rather than record videos. And there are a few players. There's Ancients is a player in my community that live streams from it regularly, like multiple times a week, from my server. There's a few regular players for sure. It's a very small community. I'd say there's maybe 5 regulars, if that. But there's a lot more. There's maybe another 10 or so occasional players that log in every now and then. So to me, it's a very small community, but it's a stable community.
Yeah, it sounds like a lovely, tight-knit community in that regard, obviously, which is quite nice. It's good. It's good to hear that. Well, that was a good answer.
I never know when to stop because there's obviously that delay.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to quickly say I'm not much of a Minecraft guy, so I'm going to move swiftly on to. I've played Minecraft, obviously. I've been there, done that. But Joe exiled me years ago.
I exiled him.
One of the many skills you seem to have,
so cynical,
you managed to utilize. Oh yeah, of course. But one of the skills you've managed to utilize with your channel is website building. With you being very professional, a very professional software engineer and a web developer, to my understanding. It shouldn't surprise me that LeigerGaming.com is an incredible example of how a content creator's website should look. It's interactive, clean, and professional. With that, I'm sure you've seen many of these build your own websites. A lot of these I'm actually quite familiar with. I went to college for media and website, not website design specifically, but we did do some bits of that. So I'm quite familiar with stuff like Wix, Webflow, and GoDaddy, mainly Wix. And obviously many more. But I was wondering, as a website builder, would you suggest to a creator who is interested in trying to create their own website to either pay a freelancer or use one of these sites?
It's a tough question. It really depends on what they want to do in the future. So the problem with these sites, with the website builder websites, is that you're stuck on the website builder. Anything you do on there, sure, you can build something up and that kind of thing. You're limited to their features, but also if you want to move beyond their features, you can't just take what you've got and build on it. You've got to start from scratch again. You can't sort of export what you've built on there. It's locked into their system, into their ecosystem. That's what I don't like about it. But that's how they make their money. They keep you on there.
When we were doing our Wix website building course, well, not course, but it was kind of like we had to portfolio our work on a Wix site so we could have it graded and stuff. It is very good for something like a portfolio, I think. But if you want something exclusive to like we said, creators, YouTubers, freelance people, I think it is really good and valuable to look into either getting one made for you or looking into trying to make one. Didn't you start looking into that, Joe? I think you started. Is it HTTP or
right? Yeah, I had HTTP. How did you say it there? Sorry, I forgot myself. But
HTTPS is it or something? I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I looked into building my own website and I tried to learn the basics. I'm learning about like the headers and stuff like that in Jazz. It was like I watched an hour-long tutorial thinking I was like a master. Like I learned it myself in a week, you know. And like this is not something that you're learning in a week, of course. By all means, I'm sure both of you know that, especially you, Leiger. It's something that takes a while to really learn, and it's you know, it's professionals game. But I tried to teach myself, and I made a decent attempt at it. I made two kind of like semi-decent looking things, but it didn't really come together. I eventually got a friend of mine who is a little bit more experienced in HTML. I think it was actually.
Yes, that would be it, I think. Yeah.
HTML. I think that's what it's called. Leiger probably can correct me here in that regard. But yeah, I got him to help me, and he made one, catmanjoe.com, and then I didn't have control over it. I had to ask him if anything could be done because he'd made the website. It wasn't used via Wix or something, but he had done it himself manually. But for anything to be done to the website, I had no clue how to do anything, so I had to ask him. And I don't like that. I like to be able to have a lot more control. So we pulled it down. I've now got catmanjoe.com, the actual URL or whatever it is.
Though I do think the what do you call it? Like stuff like Wix, I think it's similar to like how I said about people having podcasts. I think it's one of those things where if you're like, oh, my website is wix.com, I think you get looks for that. You know, it's kind of like, why are you using a website builder? Yeah. It's almost like you're promoting them, not you. And I think when you're creating your own website, it's 10 times more valuable, which I think you'll probably both agree with.
Yeah.
So you've raised some good points. If you're making it yourself, like in something like Wix, if you've got the flexibility potentially to change it as you need, and you can make some really nice looking stuff. And if you're using a custom domain to hide that it's .wix.com to make it look professional, then you can get away with something that works really well for you. Do not. Well, here's the thing: do not ever buy a custom domain through Wix directly. They charge like twice of what you should pay. It's better to register it somewhere else and point it to it.
I've heard it's pretty extortionate, and also there's a built-in system on Wix where that you can pay to get the thing removed, but you can still see it if you look in like console and stuff, which is not great. So it's not actually; it's more of a visual thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I bought my URL. I think it was.
It comes down to what your needs are, and if your needs are simple and you just need to design. Sorry, I'm talking over you.
No, you're fine. Yeah, there's a slight delay. He's gonna start speaking again any second, but there's a slight delay. But feel free just.
The thing is, if your needs are simple and you can design something that looks good in Wix and you're happy with that, there's nothing wrong with it. You've just got to keep in mind that if you want to go beyond that, and when you go beyond that, I mean like doing dynamic stuff. Like my website, you can log in, you can add your Minecraft username, it'll authenticate it, and it will whitelist you on my server within 5 minutes by using my website. You can't do that with Wix. So if you want to level it up and do that kind of thing, you just got to remember that you've got to create stuff from scratch. But if you don't need to do that, Wix might be good enough. So it really depends on what your needs are.
I was going to ask as like a bit of a side question here. Obviously, someone who's built websites and stuff. On a freelancer level, how much would it cost, say, the average creator to get a website built? I guess it depends on what they want in their website and how much work and stuff and time it would take. But like hypothetically, if I was to say to you, right, okay, Leiger, I'm wanting you to build me a website, right? Like that's the most generic kind of no details, build a website for Catman Joe. How much would like you say like people would be expected to kind of get charged for something like that?
I have successfully charged some clients $100 an hour for web dev stuff. So it can be quite a high rate. Like a real estate company that has a customer, I did quite a bit of work for $100 an hour, right? So it can be quite high, but it's just a matter of if you're a freelancer, from the point of view of the freelancer themselves, you've got to find that work first. You've got to keep finding new clients, so it's not consistent. That's what I like about YouTube. You've got the audience there. But from you as a customer, you might be able to find cheaper than that. You may be able to do. It really depends heavily on what you want from it. If you're just getting someone to build something, like you can build something like Wix where you have control over what the content is. They could just have stuff they've pre-made, they chuck it, customize it for you, and it's ready within like a couple of hours, potentially. It really depends on, each freelancer is going to do something different. You want an experienced freelancer that has some pre-built templates that they can customize for you, because then it's cheaper.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of not great stories about. I know not everyone's going to fall under the umbrella, but there's been a few instances I've heard where people have just like used templates and sold those on. Is that common, like with people that also do it at all, or is it? I'm not sure what Joe's doing, but doing his own thing.
No, I'm wondering.
Sorry,
that really distracted me. But do you ever see?
he was adjusting his pants and checking his reflection in the mirror, and
He's having like a mid. It's part of the podcast where he just strips. We never agree to it. He just does it. He said if I cut it out, he'll like kick me out the podcast. So
They're not.
it is what it is. But over what I was just trying to say is, do you like? I'm not sure how many other people you work with that also do website design. I assume you know some people as well, because obviously learning it, doing it as a hobby. And
Well, I've got my day job, and
yeah,
almost 20 people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, do you ever see like people using templates and selling those off for their own? Because I've seen a lot of that from people I know, which isn't a fantastic practice. But I wonder if there's any like scummy customers that deserve it, because I've heard a lot about that sort of thing. I have a friend who does. Yeah, he's friends of James. I can't remember his name, but yeah. So he does. Like they did like computer science, and one of them went off into website building, and he ended up basically exporting something from GoDaddy. It was like the exact template, but he changed the color of it, and he did someone for $350 for it. It's actually quite scary.
Wow.
Like, but I kind of also think, isn't that like the customer's own fault for being so not knowledgeable? Or like, do you see that at all in your workplace? Is what I'm asking, because I've seen a lot of it.
We may be talking about different things.
Maybe.
What? Responding, laughing at your delay comment. We may be talking about different things, but one benefit of using templates in a legitimate way is if you want to save the customer money by not spending as much time on it yourself. It's the best analogy is you're not reinventing the wheel every time. You're using a pre-made template and adjusting it and customizing it for them, rather than just building everything from scratch every single time. So there's templates you can buy that someone else has made and build on top of that. There's legitimate ways to use templates to cut down the time.
Oh yeah,
cut out all the unnecessary boiler. Yeah,
I'm not denying.
It really depends. I'm sure there's dodgy people as well.
Oh no, yeah, that's what I'm saying as well. Like, because I know they didn't pay for it. It's what I'm saying. So I'm not sure if that's a common time thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, cool. That was a good segment. I could tell you guys were getting into it. It was quite interesting to hear both sides to say. But I'm just in here kind of like a bit speechless, because obviously in this regard I am very out of the loop. Obviously,
it's like me with Minecraft. So
yeah, Joe's quite out of the loop on Minecraft regarding that.
I don't mind. I've played it. I'm not out the loop completely. I'm not a Minecraft content creator. So.
No, I feel you. Sorry, just something.
My
chair up there.
I'll give you a tip. I'll give you a tip. There's a cool new mob in Minecraft that you should go and give a hug, Cynic. It's called a warden. They're pretty cool.
Oh no, I'm familiar with the warden. Don't worry about it.
He is familiar with the warden. I'm sure.
Damn it!
Outrageous.
I just don't play often. I join Joe's like world every now and then. That's about it.
You'll join.
Help break
the
things.
Stream and we'll destroy stuff in my city and clean the world and chat and catch up. Well, moving on from there, we have a reoccurring segment of our podcast called The Forgotten Seven, where we ask our guests 7 a little bit more personal questions to get to know them a bit better and help paint a more clear picture of who they are personally behind the scenes, or obviously behind the content they produce. So what I'll do, Leiger, if it's cool with you, of course, is I'll ask you 7 questions that are just a bit more quick fire, kind of really easy, quick questions to answer. And if possible, you can just give us the most genuine answers, if that's all right with you.
No, I feel there have been personal questions already, but go for it.
Well, yeah, these are just like these are quite kind of I would say more open, generically chill questions.
Yeah, just like what's your IP, etc.
For sure.
What's your IP? You know,
yeah. What's my bank account details, password?
Yeah.
Oh no, we've got that. That's fine. Don't worry about it.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I gave you them earlier. Yeah, that's right.
That was right before the recording. What does your typical content creation or content creating, outfit look like?
In terms of gear, or what outfit? As in what I'm wearing?
Yeah, like when you're in the zone, you're making some videos or say streaming even. It could be either and or. What are you usually wearing? Not to sound too invasive, but like a lot of people sometimes be working in
sometimes people
pajamas.
Develop their like little idiosyncrasies around like their content, like like they might wear something comfy or etc. Like you might hop on the content thong. We don't know what you're like, so like what do you wear while you're creating content?
Okay.
Thong.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything special for content creation, right? I just wear whatever I'm wearing that day. But maybe it's worth specifying what I wear generally is I like to wear slightly more professional kind of clothes, if that makes sense. Like I tend to dress up just day to day. So I'll wear like chinos and a collared shirt just day to day.
I get you. Yeah,
and so I'm probably wearing that when I'm recording. That's just I just feel comfortable wearing that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, I guess that's what's important. It's important to feel comfortable with whatever you're wearing, of course, especially when recording, because you could be sitting there for many hours streaming or recording, of course, and editing and whatnot. But I get that's a fair answer to that. I'll give you that. It's easy enough. The second question is, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's a bit more deep, this one.
Wear chinos.
I think it's probably just a content creation piece of advice, and it's you need to not compare yourself to others. There's going to be other content creators at a similar size to you. Some are growing faster, some are growing slower. You might be growing faster than someone now. The exact same person, you'll be growing slower than in the future. It's a roller coaster of emotions if you're going to compare your growth against someone else. The only thing, and you have no control over their growth, right? Only your own.
No.
So the best thing to do instead is to measure against your own past performance and see if you're happy that you are improving on your own merits, completely ignoring everyone else, because that's the only thing you have full control over.
That's a really good response to that. I'll give you that. Some people, when it comes down to that question, they really don't know. I think it's because it's one of those things that I feel like it's hard to, on the spot, especially, think of it, probably the best piece of advice you've been given, whether it be for content creation from other creators or even just in general life. But that was a really, really, really good response. I'll give you that, man. Well done on that. The third question is, what is your absolute dream job?
Some sort of mix between programming and YouTube, I think. If I can somehow mix the two. Pardon?
I said, so you're there then? You are winning.
You're winning, you say.
Yeah, I mean, well, I enjoy my day job and I enjoy my YouTube job, right? I wish I'd have to spend so much time on it. It didn't take so much time out of my day. But this talking about a piece of advice. Here's another piece of advice. If you don't need to work full time, definitely cut back. Like anyone, as soon as I cut back from full time because I wanted to do less work, right? Because I'm living myself. I don't need to support other people. I was earning more than I needed as an individual. I cut back to less days, and I would never go full time again unless I absolutely have to, because having a day off work that other people are working is so much better than actually getting paid to work that day.
No,
I agree. I love the fact that I would take days off work and focus on relax, play games, make YouTube stuff, do other stuff that instead of having someone else tell me what to do. You could not pay me enough money to go back to full time unless I was desperate to need the money to survive. You could not pay me enough money to actually go back to full time ever again.
I have most weekdays off, and I work weekends and then a Tuesday. So I'm the same.
I'm enjoying. Yeah. Yeah.
That delay is haunting us. I'm telling you both, it's haunting us. But no, that's a good response. I'll give you that. I get that. I think you're living the best of both worlds at the minute. I think it's good as well, like you said, on not being able to work full time. You could, but it's the fact that you don't want it. You're earning enough for you kind of at the minute to be able to work when you want to work, and then have time off to work on what is your passion, which is content creating, I'd say, and being able to be passionately involved in that, and being able to just live life as well.
For sure. Yeah, if I had to support a family, I might have to do more work. But because I'm just supporting myself and a cat, I don't need to.
Myself and a cat. What's the cat's name? Do you mind if I ask? I've actually never heard this.
Buddy. So he's a medium hair, black with white slippers, and he's super cute. Found him in a box when he was 3 weeks old. Someone had dumped him. So I've had him for a couple of years now. 4 years now.
Oh, that's a little shame. But God love him. You know what I'm saying? He's a lucky man. You know what I'm saying? God damn. I'm sure he's a good cat.
He's amazing.
Amazing, Keith. Well, the next question is quite an interesting one, and I feel like I already know the answer. Are you a morning person or a night person?
Definitely a night person. I can concentrate. Well, it's with YouTube, it's even exacerbated that more. So I used to love working at night because you didn't get interrupted. People locally would not call or message you at night. You could just have peace and you could focus, and your phone, you wouldn't get buzzed with notifications. So you could really get a lot more done. But now with YouTube and being in Australia, nighttime is when the UK and US are awake. So if I want to interact with other people, nighttime is better. So even more so today, staying awake later and sleeping in the morning to make up the time to make sure I'm sleeping enough, assuming that I'm not doing something early the following morning is the best way for me.
I think that's a really fair answer to that. I did inherently, because obviously before we start recording here, we actually had asked Leiger, and Leiger can clarify this or verify this. Before we started recording, we'd actually said, just curiously, because obviously right now, like what Leiger just very quickly said right there, it is quite difficult, obviously, the regards. Like if you are an early person, it's going to be quite difficult, especially in Australia, to work with people that are in the USA or UK. In the USA right now, for example, it depends where they are. They can be 6 or 8 or 5 hours behind us in the UK, but obviously for you it's different in that regard as well. But for us right now, it's currently 12, and for Leiger, it's about maybe, I don't know, say 10 at night or 11, I'm not too sure. So it is kind of, he's going to be up later to work with us earlier. It's kind of a weird thing. But you had mentioned, I'd asked you what your bedtime, so to speak, was, and you were like, well, it can be anything from, 9 till 4 in the morning. It just kind of depends. It was like, okay, right,
pretty much.
So he's a night person. Yeah, he's a night person. I respect that. Well,
I would like to get a more consistent. Just a quick anecdote. The delays. I'd like to get a more consistent setup where I'm doing like 2 a.m. bedtime and 10 a.m. wake up. But unfortunately, there's commitments in the morning that prevent me from doing that.
Yeah, I get you. I've been trying to fix my sleep schedule in that regard. My bedtime now is like 2 a.m. and I'm getting up at 8 to go to the gym. Preferably, like today I got up at 7. I've only had 5 hours sleep actually to do this, which was not great, but that was because of a cat. A cat woke me up scratching a couch.
I'm also the same way. At the moment, it's just sleeping is not fun. I told Joe this earlier. I've set an alarm every hour, and then I go, oh, you know what? I'll get up at the next alarm, and then it'll be 11 o'clock, and I'll be like, oh, okay.
Not good. Gosh,
I can set 10 alarms, and I will sleep through them all. See, and they'll be deafeningly loud. People will be outside my window and like, why did you not wake up?
I was going to say, if I set an alarm, I've got to make sure it's at the other side of the room. I don't know if any of you guys have tried that. Probably you have. But I've got to put it at the other side of the room, so I've got to get up and walk across, and I've got to be conscious and wait for a minute. And
I can do you one better. I set one every 5 minutes. I put it in my pillowcase.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because some day, obviously, I don't sleep very well in general. I actually have really bad sleep problems. I need to probably get that checked. But I also work mornings at my job, and it requires me to get up at 5:30 in the morning. So on those days, I need that alarm to kick me in the face and say, hey, get the fuck up.
Get up. No, fair enough. Well, going from there, I'll go into the next question here, which is quite an interesting one we always like to have or like to ask. What is the strangest habit you have? Dare you share?
Strangest habit.
Mm-hmm.
He eats his fingernail clippings.
Well, this is the weird thing. A lot of habits you have, you just assume everyone does the same thing until you hear that it's odd from another person. So it's hard to know what's strange unless you've communicated to someone else and like, why do you do that? I mean, one thing I'd say is I'll be listening to podcasts in the car. That's where I listen to podcasts more, is if I'm driving somewhere. But I'll get home and I'll just sit in the garage for like an hour, continuing to listen to podcasts without going in the house. But then I've also heard since then that a lot of people do that. So I don't know.
I've heard a lot of people doing that as well. Yeah, funny enough, you said I've heard people doing that.
I've never heard that. That's weird.
No, I've heard that before. It sounds like quite a vibe. I can't lie. Like there's a weird part of me that's like I could do that. Like it's like you're in the car, you listen to the radio and stuff, and it's nice. You can enjoy the music, enjoy the tunes. But then when you park and it's time to get the car, you kind of want to finish listening to your song. And if you listen to a podcast, I'd feel kind of the same. I'd be like, well, it's got 15 minutes. I'll just sit in the car. Whatever. I'll give it a minute. Then I'll go out and continue with what I'm doing.
I've easily sat in the car for at least an hour or more after getting home in the garage still before getting in the house.
I'm glad you're in a garage and you're not like outside parked on the street, just sitting in the car. Your local neighbors
rocking.
Are like, are you seeing that man out there? What's he doing? He's just sitting in the car and like nodding his head, listening to music or something, or talking.
I've never seen him in this state before.
Like I've never seen this man. He's sitting here parked and he's idly just sitting watching people pass by, listening to something. I don't know what he's doing.
As an officer at his window, he is not responsive.
Actually, here's another thing. So I will randomly, if I'm driving in the car, and it's probably illegal there as well, I'm sure, to touch your phone while driving. Like here, it's illegal to touch your phone while driving. Yeah, for distraction reasons. Yeah. So if I have a really bad short-term memory, right? So these two things combine. If I think of something that I want to do when I'm driving, I don't trust myself to remember until I get to my destination. I have to pull over right there and start writing it in notes on my phone before I forget.
Yeah.
And then I'll see a notification, and I'll end up going through notification hell, and I'll be sitting in the car for half an hour, halfway through on my way to my destination.
Oh my god,
on the side of a road.
Oh god, dude. Oh god, it's mad having to pull up every single time to like take a note because you'll forget. You're like, hold on a second. It's too much stress in that regard. I couldn't hack it. I'd be like, just put the phone down. I ain't gonna touch it until I get home. But gosh darn, fair in that regard.
Yeah, I forget things too often.
Oh,
I need to write them down.
I'm the same. Honestly, sometimes I feel like I've got bloody dementia. You know what I mean? I swear, like I forget things like what I had for dinner last night, the night before. You know, it's not good. I feel that.
People ask me what I did on the weekend. I have to check my calendar.
Yeah, I have to. Give me a minute. Like, I don't know what I done last week. Are you sure? No, I've got no clue. Let me just check.
I don't even know who you are.
I dementia. That's what it is. But no.
It says Catman Joe.
What was who Catman Joe?
Sorry, as in who you are.
Oh my god, yeah, you know. I swear to God, that's literally a perfect example of my short-term memory. I forgot the joke just a second. Goddamn.
Who?
Like, literally, who? Yo, what's going on? Going up from there, what is one thing we would never guess about you?
Maybe my age. A lot of people. I'm not going to say what people
21.
think, but if you had to guess my age. You reckon 21?
No. People don't know my age.
I'll take a guess, and I'll let Joe take a guess and stuff, obviously, respectfully. You're not a woman, so we can guess your age, and it's still respectful. I'm going to say your 30s, obviously. I'm going to say 34?
36.
Bold answer.
Okay. Well, that completely counteracts what I was going to say. Probably the fact that I've had the channel for 12 years and things like that probably gives you some hints, right? But a lot of people generally think I'm younger than I actually am. Like, people think I'm mid-20s. But you're both pretty close. Yeah, low 30s. Yeah.
Like, I know, obviously, I've watched a few, but like, I could bet your content and stuff. I know what you look like and stuff. And in that regard, I've been able to kind of lightly get that mental image of, like, all right, he's in his 30s. That's what it is. Something in that kind of range. But, like obviously, because
you're 20s,
actually, that's be whatever years ago you started. You know, like, that's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So having that context, maybe that helps. But a lot of people, especially if they haven't seen me, like they've only heard my voice, they think I'm like at least 5-10 years younger than I am.
Oh no, I'd be entirely the same. If I hear your voice alone, I'd be like, yeah, you're maybe in your late 20s, 28, 27. I could get with that, not much older than us because of the voice. But like, because that's what it is, and the way in which you speak, you're quite kind of like I know you sound just the same. Like, it does in the same kind of way. You know what I'm saying? There's not like a notable thing, right? But like, it's like
I haven't got an old man voice.
You haven't got an old man voice. Thankfully, you ever say, "Gosh darn." But yeah, I mean, I was surprised. Like, for example, talking about age, you know how old Vloop is, do you?
I think he's probably older than you'd guess. I'm gonna guess 40.
I don't know Vloop's age, but I don't know why, but I think he's in his 50s. I don't know why.
No. He's not in his 50s. Vloop's 48, I believe, from when.
So yeah, 50,
he answered the question, and I remember him answering. My dad's 50, and I'm interviewing Vloop, and I remember going, "What's like Vloop's a good-looking guy, as well. Like, that's the thing. Vloop is a good-looking guy for his age, but like at the end of the day, he's just I was quite surprised. I was like, wait, what 48? And it's just. Don't really connect right away. I guess when you see Vloop, I mean, it's just that's not what I really associate in that regard. But yeah, it's
I think your energy level and the way you interact with people, it really influences the perceived age as well. If you're more energetic, I guess you're perceived as younger.
What have I been doing wrong?
Yeah.
Jesus, everyone thinks I'm so much older than I am.
Joe looks a lot older. I mean, Leiger, obviously, I don't know if you can guess how old Joe is, right? Like, I'm 23, right? How old would you think he is?
Well, you've basically told me earlier that you're both in your 20s, so.
Well, take a. Would you say he's my age or a bit older?
I'd say he looks like he might be in his low 30s, but I'm gonna guess high 20s.
Are you joking? You're taking the mic, right? You're actually joking.
I'm not. No, I'm not.
You're not.
I think it's the hair that does it for me. I think it's the hair that does it for me.
I turned 19 2 months ago. What are you on?
19.
Yes.
No, I do not believe that.
No, Leiger, genuinely.
Sorry.
To God, people watch the show and they go, Joe,
sorry.
Like,
I would definitely think you're older.
You wouldn't, right? Exactly. But
is it the glasses? Is it the hair? What
it's the beard. I think it's the whole thing.
I think it's the hair and the glasses. Yeah.
Yeah, people watch the show and like see if you look at our younger, our older episodes, episodes like 15 and stuff.
Actually, yeah, you.
Because he's growing his beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's grown in the beard and stuff because he used to be obviously without the beard when he was younger and stuff. And since then he's been growing
the
this beard
beard
for
since
like
I
how
was
many years?
13. Like
Yeah,
I
so
grew
he's been
facial hair
growing
very quickly.
He's been growing the beard for like 6 years, non-shaving. Like he's
Yeah, the
trimmed up
beard
and
helps
that,
as
but
well.
it's
Like,
good. Oh yeah.
yeah, I look a lot older than I am with the beard on, and a lot younger with the beard off. So I think the beard makes you feel older, look older as well.
I get that. I get that as well. I think with Joe, he's got the
Early
long hair, the
30s,
glasses,
you
and
are
the beard. It
taking
adds
the
to
mick.
age, and the way in which he speaks and how he acts as well. Like Joe and I, in comparison, I'm the more hyped up one because that's just who I am. I'm a lot more hyped up and energetic. I speak faster, etc. But like, yeah, it's one of those things.
That's the highest one I've got yet. You know, that's actually bad. It was 26.
Joe's taking that away now.
I'm sorry if I've offended you.
I've never got.
I remember when I was like here in Australia, you can drink and buy alcohol when you're 18. I think in the US it's up 21, but in Australia it's 18.
21. Yeah, in the UK it's 18.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. I keep thinking you're in the US. I don't know what London is. I wouldn't have a clue what the UK is.
That's more of an insult than being called old.
But no, I mean it's a valid thing.
Understandably,
age question. I think with a lot of guys, we're quite fortunate because guys, I've got this beautiful thing where like when we get to like our 20s, 30s, even 40s, our age kind of is like a great thing because we don't look very different. Like,
bro, I didn't even get to experience my 20s according to him. I've not even got
that. Joe went to 19 and then went to 30. That's what it was. He just jumped to 20.
Came out the womb 19. Next birthday 30.
That's what it was.
So ridiculous. I'm so stumped.
I think the main thing is a beard. Like when I was 18, I had to. If I had a beard, they would give me alcohol without checking for ID. But as soon as I shaved, they would ask for ID every time.
Yeah,
like it just makes you look younger.
Like, when I buy that sort of thing, I just roll up the sleeve and I'm like, yeah, look, guys, can I purchase?
See, for me, I guess I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum. Obviously, I've never really seen you with a beard, of course. From all your videos, I've seen you quite like clean shaven. You look like very neat and tidy, obviously, in that regard. I don't know if you can grow like a full-on beard. Obviously, I've never seen that from my recollection. But for me, like unlike maybe yourself and Joe, you guys can grow proper beards. Just for me, I can grow the goatee, right? Like you can see the light bit here. But then when I grow a beard, there's photos of me online on my Discord and such. But I look just a bit weird. The beard doesn't grow in really right. So when I have the beard, I get questioned for my age because it looks like he's in his teens or something growing his beard trying to look older when it's not the case. I'm actually in my 20s.
Right.
But then when I clean shave, I don't get ID'd. It's a weird kind of parallel.
Okay, that's the opposite. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, one of interesting things. Well, we'll go from there. The next thing, of course, for the last question of the Forgotten Seven, have you ever had a nickname? And if so, what is it?
I did.
Hot dog.
But it's based on my last name, so for privacy reasons, I'd rather not share it.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Well, you answered the question.
Yeah.
We'll leave that there. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, from there, that's the Forgotten Seven. That's a generic kind of like just chill questions out of the way. I'll let Joe resume with the next section of obviously the proper questions.
30. God damn. Right. You've been streaming on Twitch now for, I believe, a little over 3 years. And in that time, you've managed to build a small but loyal following due to your humble personality and entertaining streams. I was curious, though, to ask why you have never re-uploaded your complete Twitch VODs to your YouTube channel or as a separate VOD channel in general, which, has become increasingly more popular these days. And obviously, you're more into your bite-sized content. But why have you not ever uploaded your VODs to anywhere on YouTube?
I have, but it's a separate channel that I don't advertise much. So I've got a League of VODs channel, but I haven't uploaded them recently. It's only got maybe 10 streams on there. Yeah.
That'll be what it is. Yeah.
Either I hit it well, or you do your research. I'm just going to assume I hit it well.
I do dig very deeply for a lot of things like this, and I never found that.
Joe is borderline psychopathic when he does this. We found someone's maiden name. It's ridiculous. He needs a job in the FBI.
I shouldn't know as much as I do about some guests, but I learn a lot. And if I can't learn something, then you're good. Like I normally what happens is if guests come on the show afterwards, I'll tell you where I found most of the information. If it's something very private, and then I'll help you get rid of that.
Little does he know, he doesn't actually know my full name still.
Your internet kind of privacy is quite there. It's kind of you being quite private in that regard. But for VODs, that was kind of a question I had because it was a factor. Like I love to watch a lot of your VODs and stuff like that. I never got a minute, especially when you're in research, for you to really look on your Twitch and see any VODs because there was none. The only thing that's there is from like 3 years ago it's like a quick like clip, I think, or something, or a highlight. I believe, I can't really fully recall. And I was kind of gutted. I was like,
So
you're clearly streaming
yeah.
on Twitch, but it'd be good to have them re-uploaded elsewhere so people can rewatch them. And it's very easy to do, of course. You don't even have to download them.
Yeah, so this is the thing. So that you say it's easy. One second. You say it's easy because you just have to download them. That's my problem. So I'll get to that in a second. I do have a Twitch VODs on Twitch itself, but obviously they expire after a while. I used to do some transfers because in Twitch itself, you can do a transfer directly to a YouTube channel. Like Twitch will upload it to YouTube for you, so it doesn't even go via your computer.
Days ago.
But it's the stream quality, and you then need to like chop out things. If you had like a 5-minute start screen, you got to chop that out in the YouTube editor and stuff like that. It's a lot of hassle. So what I'd love to do, I do record everything I stream. So I'd love to just do that editing and chop things together and tighten it up in an editor locally. But the problem is my upload speed means it will take me like 10 hours to upload a single stream to YouTube.
Oh, God.
So it's a practical reason is why I don't do it. Yeah, I need faster internet.
I do understand it. That's what I was going to say when you were talking about it initially, because I didn't know, obviously, you were going to talk about the whole export option. I was going to say, you can export the streams directly to YouTube, and that doesn't even use any of your internet. That just uses Twitch's own internet and Twitch's own servers. But like I understand that, obviously, of course, in that regard. I think, it is kind of a matter of like a VODs channel can be, you don't want to make it just dumping ground. I know that you're a very clean guy in terms of how you present your channel and how you do your work, whether it be for Follower Forge or for the LeigerGaming channel. All of your content is very well polished and clean, and I think that's why you have a set standard morally that you will not do that, which I respect. But I think for some people, I think people wouldn't really mind in that regard, obviously due to the circumstances, especially if like you were just uploading the full unedited VODs, maybe fling a thumbnail on them or something for, a lot of the generic ones, say if it's on Minecraft, the specific thumbnail used for the Minecraft ones, whatever, on a VODs channel and maybe promote that a little bit more. But that was just a suggestion I wanted to make because I'm sure there's like hundreds of streams that you've done on Twitch over the countless years you've been doing it now that are lost to time. Or maybe you've still got them, but they're kind of out the way.
I started recording them maybe a year ago now, so I've got them all on a hard drive.
Well, that's good.
And I'm the kind of person that just collects things and doesn't throw them away, so I still have them. So maybe I'll upload them all at one point if I get good internet.
Yeah. There's an internet cafe and totally destroy their internet speeds. It's just be like, I'm just in here.
Well, there's a co-working space near me with 10 gigabit both ways. But it'll cost me like $300 a month to hire a desk there. So it's not practical for me at this point.
No, that's not practical at all. That's not practical at all.
Otherwise, my home internet is like 4 megabit up at best.
Yeah, so you're in a pretty crummy position to do that in that regard. I do understand that.
That's also probably been the initial driver for why so many of my videos are short and only like 5 minutes or so. Is not only because I want to make them short and tight and as clean as possible and try to keep retention up, but also because from a practical point of view, uploading a long video, it's a larger file and it's going to take a longer time.
That is actually a really good point. I never actually thought of it like that, of course, from what you were just saying there, but that actually makes a lot more sense. From a practical point of view, you have to make the videos short. You don't have to, but you're kind of incentivized to make the videos a little bit shorter, if possible. Cut as much as you can to make it nicely well done and kind of a lot shorter so it goes out there a lot more easily. I get that.
Yeah, so the two reasons are like practical in terms of upload speed, but also because I'm trying to keep retention tight. And by doing that, it takes so much effort to do every minute of the video. So by making the videos shorter, it takes less time to make them as well.
Yeah, I want to put a little pin in that retention comment, keeping the viewer retention high. We're going to come back to that, and not this question I'm about to ask you, but the one after that Joseph's going to ask you. So please keep that in the back of your mind a little, because that's going to be quite interesting for the following question from Joseph. But I'll continue with my next question, which is, although the majority of your content is focused on Minecraft, and undoubtedly that is where you found the most success, I think your content on games outside of Minecraft is subjectively your most entertaining and interesting, at least from my point of view. For an example, a hidden gem on your channel that I personally really enjoyed watching was your playlist of indie game reviews. As a creator who is trying to find their own space in such an overpopulated genre, it was lovely to see someone that I knew outside of just the mass Cynic, who had actually managed to carve out a unique place for themselves in that community. Your reviews were an extension of what I believe makes the LeigerGaming channel so successful. They were quick, honest, well-edited, straight-to-the-point reviews that didn't pander to the viewer, which we've already kind of really talked about quite a significant amount throughout this episode of this podcast within your editing style. Each of your reviews felt interesting or feel interesting and well planned out, but not only that, they were also very refreshing from a viewer perspective to watch, of course, outside of just the Minecraft content. With that being said, I was wondering if you have any more reviews specifically planned for the future of the channel.
So, like I said earlier, I tested the podcast idea on the main channel first and decided to then spin it off into another channel. So I was doing the same thing here. I was testing some indie game review concepts, and ultimately haven't decided to spin it off into another channel yet because it didn't feel like it was sustainable enough for that yet. Partly that it didn't quite perform, but also it's a matter of getting access to interesting enough games to talk about as well. I would have loved to have started it on a new channel, but the problem is a lot of the game codes I was getting for these to try new games are based on your channel size. And having more than 1,000 or 2,000 subscribers, I could get a whole bunch of game codes for free from some developers that I couldn't get on a brand new channel with 5 subscribers. So part of that was also a matter of there's a few sites you can log into. You authenticate with your YouTube and Twitch accounts. They verify that you've got a certain number of average viewers or whatever, and based on those criteria, game developers will make available game codes for some of their games.
Oh, wow. I might have to do that.
we might actually have to ask you because I'm trying to get into that space as well, not to cut your conversation here, but definitely come back to that at the end of the show.
But yeah, the negative with that situation though is that you can't do that on a completely new channel. You'd have to review games you already have instead, because they authenticate that you actually reviewed the channel by checking that you've got a video on your channel with that in the title and stuff. So I can't get the game code for LeigerGaming and then upload the video to a different channel. I have to upload it on LeigerGaming if I'm using their game code.
Yeah.
So it's
quite a predicament. Yeah, it's quite a predicament. I guess in that regard, I do understand. Obviously, you have two different scenarios there that you could potentially possibly look over. Of course, one probably you haven't thought of. You could purchase a YouTube channel that already has a pre-built audience slightly and use just the inflated number, which maybe would cost you $30, $40, whatever it costs for like couple thousand subscriber channel. Although it would be very authentic because you're starting with that pre-built audience, you would have the pre-built audience and a pre-built channel to be able to build a foundation. Some creators have done that. I've done that. Not on any actual channels that I specifically use. It was on an actual archive channel of mine that I built or that I'd done a long time ago that is actually finding a lot of success at the minute, pulling in 80,000 views a month or almost 100,000 and a couple thousand subscribers. It's a passion project, side passion project of mine that I keep completely unrelated to my main channel. But that was the first option. The second is you could just upload it to the main channel, but I'm guessing it's just you don't want to really bring more of that content to the main channel, or is it just that because it hasn't performed the best, you're not really as incentivized to do that?
Because my audience is heavy Minecraft focused, whenever I do something that's not Minecraft focused, it doesn't perform well. And so those videos, I think if I was going to make more game review videos, I would have to do it on a separate channel, because they would get more views on a separate channel with no audience than they would on my Minecraft channel, simply because of the way YouTube works. It will show those videos to a Minecraft audience that isn't interested. They won't click on it. Their attention will drop. The click-through rate will drop. And YouTube will think, this video sucks. We're not going to share it to more people. But if you put it on another channel, YouTube will learn what that channel's about, and it will learn that indie game review watchers like that channel, and it will recommend it to more people, and it will actually perform better on a new channel.
Will you consider making a new channel then?
Yes. It's just a matter of the main thing limiting me from doing that at the moment is I've already got enough commitments, and I've got another channel that
follow Forge.
I've got another channel you don't know about as well, where I do let's plays of sci-fi games, like like No Man's Sky and stuff like that. Most of my audience doesn't know it exists either. I think only 1 or 2 people in my audience know it exists. I've kept it quite.
Could you not do
because
the
I was experimenting with the idea. If it's sci-fi related, yes, because that's my focus there. I was experimenting with something. At the moment, that channel's sitting there with a few videos, and it's growing slowly. But the thing is, I don't have the time to do lots and lots of channels at the moment, and I don't have the funds necessarily to hire someone to help me to do that. So my focus at the moment is primarily LeigerGaming, secondarily Follower Forge, and trying to also do more beyond that is going to dilute my efforts on those two. So I've decided not to. to not burn myself out.
I totally understand that one. I was in a similar boat a little while ago, trying to pursue multiple different channels to do multiple different types of content, which is really ambitious and great, and it's great to be ambitious and great to have different things going on at once, but it does really start to take away from your main projects. Like, for example, with this podcast, I have struggled tremendously with trying to balance this podcast alone with my own channel, because I have to upload daily Minecraft news stuff if I'm doing news or whatever. And you're totally right, it does dilute that content. You know, you don't have as much time to invest in your own stuff because you're investing in this stuff, and that ends up making it worse on both parties and both sides. So it's better to try and allocate your time accordingly and not overextend yourself. And
I'm so glad this podcast is collaborative, because I could not cope with my own channel as it is. So
yeah,
this,
I do the script writing, Joe does the editing. We have a really good balance in that regard, thankfully. So yeah.
Can I just jump in and say, I just noticed a change. Good job, Cynic, for acknowledging that you are indeed 30 years of age.
That's been there for such a long time. Oh my god.
He done it silently. He done it silently.
I did that like after the joke that we made, like instantaneously.
I assume so, but I've only just noticed. Yeah, Catman is still fruity on Thursdays.
That's fruity because of the jumper.
Every day,
my
man.
grand's jumper, but like it was a nice hoodie I got.
Your grand's curtain. Look at it.
It's my first time.
I love it. I love
just
it
for you, Leiger. I wore it for just for you. I just cracked it up.
Ah, thank you.
So I'm glad you like it. I'm glad it's good. It's hella.
My head kind of looks like a pineapple right now with the colours.
Well, I mean, your head in the game. I mean, your head in the game looks very handsome.
Not my head. That would be a problem. I'd have to go to the doctors for that.
I heard that. And I went, "Is that in real life? Why are you in the call? Get to the hospital." Like, I mean, my head went there. Oh man! But
I'm starting to get the implication that your camera isn't real.
That a camera doesn't exist.
No, I'm starting to think that that's not actually him.
I'm starting to think this avatar here is
no comment.
Not him. I think there's someone else.
I think this is fake. This is a deep fake.
I do love.
I'm just very good at holding my position and not moving.
That's what it's just staying still. I was gonna say I've always loved the fact that you use the Halo Reach character Emil. I'm guessing you are a Halo fan, or was it just a skin that you started using?
I was back in 2011, and I've just never changed it because it's still pretty unique. I don't play first-person shooters generally at all anymore.
Right.
So that's But other than that, I used to play them a lot. Yeah. And Halo, I think Halo 1, the original on the Xbox, was the first-person shooter I ever played. I think. But Halo Reach, which Emil is from, is good.
Yeah, I love that. I think Halo Reach is where it peaked. I played Halo 4. Joe likes Halo 4. Joe's younger, so he grew up with like Halo 4 a little bit more, and he really enjoyed that. I wasn't a big fan of Halo 4. 5,
Halo 5 was awful. Halo 5 was awful.
Infinite looks good, but it is not that great in multiplayer, especially from what I've heard. It's not too bad, but isn't great enough. But Halo Reach was like the pinnacle of Halo. It was the last Bungie made Halo, of course, so that's kind of why. But
I'm surprised that as a 30-year-old you didn't play the original Halo.
Same, so am I. It's quite surprising. You know what I'm saying? I can't lie, it really is.
Yeah, I remember when Pong came out, mate. I'm a big Pong fan. Yeah.
Gosh,
no, how dare you?
Pong is good.
Pong is good.
Is it? Yeah, I love the story. It's really immersive. The world building is phenomenal.
Yes, of course. Right. Well, I'll let Joe transition to the next question naturally. I love saying this sort of noise.
Yeah, it does really irritate me. It's like, Joe, here's a segue. Joe, do the shut up. Shut up. Leave. Get out. Right. Okay. Oh. Okay. Oh, he's gone. When you did that, for some reason, my computer froze. Don't do that again.
Sorry, I won't.
The fade always makes me lose my rubbish. Right. Following on from Joe's question, as someone who is currently working on game review related videos, I was curious as to what your thoughts were on working with other creators and, in collaboration. Joe mentioned your reviews are very similar to your normal content. They are fast, well edited, and get straight to the point, which is great for keeping viewer attention high, but it does sometimes affect your connection with the viewer, as they aren't actually getting a chance to get to know you or your personality. Do you think collaborating with other creators to try and inject more personality at the expense of making longer reviews would be worth risking the viewer attention, lowering if it meant... Sorry, I've wrote this, I've edited it about a few times. We've got this ongoing joke. Joe writes in Scottish, I write in English. I've rewritten a certain part, and it does not flow as well as I thought it did when I read it back. Basically, would you like to collaborate with more people at the risk of making longer videos, but it also gets your personality out there more? I think that would is that a more valuable thing to you, or do you care more about getting to the point with the reviews? Yeah, and keeping that viewer retention. Yeah. flawless.
For the reasons mentioned previously, upload speed and trying to really hyper focus on the retention, I wouldn't do longer videos anyway. In terms of the other question, would I like to interact and collaborate with more people? Sure. It's just a matter of time zones and organizing things. I am sorting out a collaboration with another Minecrafter right now that's about, I think he's got a pretty new channel, maybe 300 subscribers. So it's very small, but he makes good content. Like it's good, clear audio and does good tutorial content. And he's got a similar target audience to me from what I've seen. So it would be a good matchup.
I've met a few people like that recently.
One
which is
that's
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
It's really good to see a new creator that does good audio. Yeah. One thing that's worth considering, a lot of people focus on subscriber count, which is the wrong thing to focus on, because I would much rather collaborate with a small YouTuber under 1,000 subscribers that has good audio and good commentary than a 30,000 subscriber YouTube channel that's like 3 times the size of my current channel that isn't a good fit because they do different types of content or something like that. You've got to find someone that is compatible with you regardless of the channel size, and assuming that audio quality is good, the communication is good, their channel is going to grow regardless. So you'll get it's not a one-way street. They're going to benefit your channel as much as you're benefiting them. It's just going to take longer because they're smaller.
Yeah.
I totally completely agree. Like I recently, well, I say recently, it's been a few months now. We had him on the show. Fantastic guest and fantastic friend. We had a guy called Z-Storm come on. We make very similar content. We're both like doing like game reviews. He does more Nintendo based stuff, and I do pretty much anything PC, Sony, etc. And we just talk about games. But we both have that same sort of strive for running commentary gameplay sort of thing. Not even running commentary, but like post commentary, just talking about games, doing big reviews. I'm really into long form videos. We complement each other's stuff for that sort of thing. We'll both sit down for like 30 minutes talking about a game. Like recently, I did a thing on Skylanders, if you remember that. I'm 30, easy stuff for me. And he did a thing on Amiibos, and they're both toys to life. So we thought we'll come together. I'll go on his channel. I'll speak about Skylanders because it interjects with his topic. And we just really get on, and there's a lot of good synergy with that. And I think finding that with other creators is such a valuable thing to have, not only for attention and, obviously having someone else on the channel is usually pretty good because people are like, oh, what's this? This is new. It's also just, branching those two communities together, making everyone, grow, which is fantastic. And I think that's the exact same thing that's happening with you, with obviously that smaller creator with 300 subs, because when I met Z-Storm, he was at like 200 subs, and now he's at 800. So he's definitely growing at the same sort of rate that I assume that your friend will be soon getting to, because if they're doing the good stuff, they're going to be growing, God,
yeah, like over time, you kind of get a understanding of what good content is through just trial and error. And it's exciting when you can see a smaller creator that already has a lot of that mix. Because they've got a head start. They've obviously done some sort of video related stuff before YouTube, or maybe they had another channel, and so they're off to a good start. Whereas if you're first starting YouTube and it's your first channel, it's going to take a couple of years to even just learn the basics and really learn those. People can tell you stuff, but you've still got to learn certain things for yourself through trial and error. So it's exciting to see really small channels that already know that. Yes, yeah,
definitely. We have the example of the podcast, like going back to the whole work when people, regardless of their sub count, we do have a bit of a staple. We have like different rated episodes in terms of color. We did tell you this before. I had to tell you this before, but I don't know if you really remember. We have different colors that represent different things. So for example, we have 3 different creator size colors. So if you're a green rated creator, it means that you have under 500 subscribers, and that typically means the episodes are more subject based. It's more us talking about a topic. That's what me and Joe do just together usually. But sometimes if we have guests on, which we've had once or twice that have under 500, that's what those would be classed as. And then we have guests that have between 500 and 10,000 subscribers, which are blue rated, hence the little blue markers beside our names. That's what your episode will be. And then 10,000 onwards is purple rated. But creators, even if they have 500 plus subscribers, they can request to come on the show and they can be denied because of the factor of audio quality, because of the factor of just their branding, who they are. It's not all about the sub counts. It's about audio quality and how you make your content, and how you are, and how you speak, and how you interact with the camera, and what you're doing in a nutshell. And I think it is really important to be able to see people that are upcoming, you know, and be able to kind of pay attention to that and acknowledge that if they are good at what they're doing and they're new, encourage that and work with them. And like you said, with the friend that you're working with them, even though you are significantly larger than them in terms of sub size, is redundant. It's not about sub count. It's a number on YouTube. Don't pay attention to it. Don't let the numbers get to you. Don't let it overwhelm you. At the end of the day, if he's got 300 subscribers and he makes good content, it's going to benefit you and him working together. And the same with us. We had Z-Storm on the show, and Z-Storm was, you know, he was the least sub person in this season. You're a part of that season 4, which is 40 to 50 episodes. And you know, you've got 9,600 subs. We had a guest on a couple episodes ago that had now has got over 600,000 subscribers. We've got another guest coming on that's got 150,000 subscribers. He was on the episode prior to this, and the very huge guest. Z-Storm is the smallest, but he was an amazing episode because he's an amazing creator, and it's important to really emphasize that and acknowledge that where you can, and work with those people whenever possible.
We were also
personality is a big part of it as well.
Yeah, Joe's acknowledging the fact we were dressed up as the Mario Brothers because it was a Halloween thing, but yes. Well,
okay.
There, Leiger, for what sadly will be our last question with you, I wanted to ask what you think the future holds for the LeigerGaming YouTube channel in 2023. Back in 2021, you had mentioned that you were expecting to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of that year based on content trends, or current trends, excuse me, that you were covering at the time. But obviously, we know that sitting in early 2023, that sadly didn't happen. However, you are very close to reaching 10,000 subscriber milestone, or the 10,000 subscriber milestone. You had also said you were expecting to be doing YouTube full time by mid 2023. So I'm interested in your thoughts and predictions for this year. Obviously, of course, now that we know obviously all those statements, and obviously we're in that year.
I think I would have hit 10K last year had I continued making content consistently. I took a break from both channels, Follower Forge and LeigerGaming, just to focus on other things in real life a little bit. And when I say took a break, I mean I stopped uploading videos, but I was still talking to our community in Discord and everything every single day. I took a break from creating content itself, but not from the community. And that was more, I think had I not done that, I probably would have hit 10K last year. But the problem was I realized it was more important to just focus on what I needed to focus on and not stress myself out and overwork myself. In terms of when I'll hit 10K, hopefully this year, but honestly, at this point, I don't care. As long as my channel's growing, and it's at the moment, I'm happy with the rate it's going at. When I hit it, doesn't matter. I don't care anymore. I used to care a lot about subscribers, more probably should, but at this point, it's just a number. It'll be nice when I get 10K. I will make a few posts about it or something, I'm sure, but beyond that, it's just a number. I think it might even at this point be more exciting for the audience than it is for me. In terms of when I'll be full time on YouTube, not 2023, not this year, unless something drastic changes. So my current plan is maybe the next 3 years, but we'll just see how it goes.
Okay, that sounds like a good plan. Well, Leiger, I got to say with that, you've been an amazing guest, and I've got to say thank you very much for myself, of course, and I'm sure for Joe as well, speaking on his behalf, for coming on our show. Obviously, like we said at the beginning, this has taken a long time for us to arrange this and get this all done, and I'm very glad that we could make it happen because it meant a lot to me, meant a lot to Joe, and I'm sure, I hope it meant a lot to you, of course, in that regard as well, because you've been a fantastic guest, and I knew this would be a great episode, and it truly has been. And honestly, dude, I wish you the absolute best for 2023 and obviously the foreseeable future on top of that, with Follower Forge, with the LeigerGaming channel, and anything else you go on to pursue. And man, I got to say once again, thank you so much for coming on.
You two are awesome. This is great. Thanks.
Thank you, bro. All right.
You're right.
Both of you.
We're all right. We're not too bad.
The 20-something-year-old and the 30-year-old, you both are awesome.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Stop.
Well, no, I got to say, ladies and gentlemen, right now, if you guys haven't already checked out LeigerGaming or Leiger, obviously go check out his main YouTube channel, LeigerGaming. It will be linked down below with his social medias. And also, of course, on top of that as well, please be sure to go check out his podcast, Follower Forge. It's an amazing podcast that creates really, really, really great content. And if you're a creator especially, you will definitely go on to enjoy that content. So please be sure to go over there, show some love, go drop it a sub, go check it out, and go give it a listen as well, and let Leiger know your thoughts, of course, on his show, because I'm sure he'd love to hear it. And other than that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the 49th episode of the Forgotten Podcast.
Oh, God.
I'm, of course, Kevin and Joe. I'm joined by the man himself, Mr. Cynic, and obviously our amazing guest, LeigerGaming.
Here for 49 more.
We'll see you guys in the next episode. And yes, here's hoping 49 more to
Next
go.
episode, we celebrate my 31st. It's going to be amazing.
Yes, that's what it is. Yes.
I'm going to get a
Thanks for watching,
pension.
peeps. Yes. Thanks for watching.